Have you inherited an IRA lately, or are you maybe aware that you might be inheriting IRA money and wondering what you should do to go about that? In this video, we're going to talk about 3 items you want to look at while doing that, as well as the pros and cons of each of those situations and how to potentially handle them in your situation. Welcome to the Financial Beat YouTube channel. I'm Logan Sadler, and appreciate you guys joining us here today. We have one of these topics that does come up rather frequently here at our office, and I've helped a lot of clients and people we know around the area go through these types of situations. And first thing I always say is, when you're inheriting an IRA, as you probably saw there in the teaser, there's obviously some mixed emotions there, right? Obviously, somebody probably passed away and you're inheriting money, which is a new responsibility, but also you're typically mourning the loss of somebody. So there can sometimes be a lot of thoughts and emotions going on in your head. And one of the things I always say with inheriting IRAs, there is a lot of different rules that have changed over the last few years. And there's a lot of things to be aware of when navigating this situation. So I thought it would be a great video for us to talk about here. If you haven't yet, go ahead and click subscribe and check out some of our other videos if you haven't done so. So let's talk about if you're inheriting an IRA, right? Which that typically is an old 401k or an old employer plan, maybe that was rolled over to an IRA. Here's scenario 1. You can, if you are a spouse, you can roll that over into your own IRA, right? So if your husband or your wife had an IRA and they passed away, you actually can assume that IRA and roll it over into your own or make that current one become your own IRA. The pros of that obviously would be deferring taxes. The biggest issue with IRAs in a lot of the cases, if we're not talking about Roth, is the tax bill has not been paid on those assets yet. So you want to be aware of how to navigate that. So as a spouse, it is awesome where you can assume those assets and defer them now for your retirement and use those how you see fit based off of your situation. The cons of that scenario is that is only available to a spouse or some other qualifying situations. But for that example to work, it really only normally works with a spouse, okay? So option 2, what is our other option? The other option would be you could take a lump sum distribution. If mom or dad left you $100,000, in this example, you could take all $100,000 out of that IRA. The nice part about it is on inherited IRAs, you do not have any extra 10% penalties, which are typically attached to the IRA distribution if you are under age 59 and a half. So that is the nice part. You do get out of that 10% penalty, and that could be a scenario for some of you watching this video. However, the cons of that situation is it is all still taxable. So depending on your situation and how your situation looks tax-wise, that might not be the best thing to withdraw $100,000 of all taxable money in that tax year, depending on how your tax breaks down, right? So if you're making $100,000, $200,000 a year, let's say you make $200,000 a year, and you pull that IRA out that was worth $100,000 that was left to you, in that scenario, you then have an extra $100,000 of ordinary income to claim on that tax year. So you really want to make sure if you have an advisor, you're contacting them or talking with your tax person about if that scenario makes a lot of sense. Then there's option number 3. So long story short, before 2020, there was a rule called the stretch IRA, where if mom or dad passed away, they left you that $100,000, you could then assume that as a stretch IRA and take a very small distribution on that throughout the rest of your retirement or throughout the rest of your lifetime. However, after 2020, I'm assuming if you're watching this video, you probably don't have an inherited IRA yet, or maybe this just happened. So in this scenario, you now would fall under the new rules, which after the Secure Act, they now give you 10 years to take out that money, but it does allow you to defer it for essentially 10 years or year by year, up to 10 years to take out that $100,000 in that example and pay taxes on it. This can be a very good scenario, and we've helped a lot of clients navigate the 10-year rule, because the nice part is in that $100,000 example, if you're making $100,000 a year and $100,000 was left to you in an IRA, you could now do what's called an inherited IRA, do some paperwork, get it transferred over to an inherited IRA, and then you can take out distributions year by year over that 10 years to now take the money out of that account But the nice part is by doing it over 10 years, you typically could take smaller amounts out, which might help your tax situation and really might bring some benefit to you long term. So I think that's a lot of those three things you want to navigate based on your situation to understand how tricky this can be. I just want to say I have worked with lots and lots of clients navigating inherited IRAs. And one of the things I always say is you really got to understand, number one, what your goal is for the money when it's left to you. Number two, identifying if it is an IRA and things like that. But also then identifying based off my income and my future income, when is the best time or how is the best strategy to get some of that money out over a period of time, depending on your tax situation, and understanding what years you might have higher income or lower income, and then navigating when's the best time to take each of those dollars out to net the most amount of money possible. So there was as quick as I could do to summarize the inherited IRA. Many of you are going to go through this or have gone through this, and there's some tricky scenarios to navigate. So make sure you're contacting a professional to help navigate that based off your situation. Again, if you haven't done so, click like and subscribe, and we'll see you back here again next time. I appreciate it. Talk to you soon.